A king kicks down the doors of a church. Inside, candles are still burning on the altar. And there, in front of the bishop, he orders his own brother executed on the spot. No trial, no mercy, no hesitation. This actually happened. The year was 501. The killer's name was Gundobad. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. This wasn't even the first brother he'd murdered. It wasn't even the second. By the time this story ends, almost nobody in his own family will still be alive, and he will have gotten away with nearly all of it. This is the true story of a man who clawed his way to power through the dying Roman Empire, one dead relative at a time, using betrayal, sieges, and a stolen throne to build a kingdom that history barely remembers today. By the late 400s, the Western Roman Empire was collapsing. Rome still existed on paper, but real power belonged to Germanic warlords who commanded the armies the emperors depended on just to survive. One of these groups was the Burgundians, settled along the Rhone Valley in what's now eastern France. They weren't outsiders attacking the empire. They were already inside it, serving as Roman generals, marrying into Roman families, quietly becoming the real power behind a crumbling throne. And the man who understood this game better than anyone was a Burgundian prince named Gundobad. His uncle, a general named Ricimer, was arguably the most powerful man left in the Western Empire. He didn't wear a crown. He installed puppet emperors, controlled them, then discarded them once they stopped being useful. Gundobad grew up watching this and learned fast. In 472, when an emperor named Anthemius resisted Ricimer's control, Gundobad personally helped hunt him down. Anthemius disguised himself and hid inside a church, hoping for sanctuary. It didn't save him. He was found and killed. That detail matters. Remember it. Weeks later, Ricimer died, and Gundobad, barely in his 20s, briefly inherited his uncle's staggering power, commanding Rome's army and choosing the next puppet emperor. It didn't last. Rivals pushed him out, and around 473, he left Italy for Burgundy, where his father had just died, leaving a throne split between 4 sons. Shared power between brothers almost never stays peaceful, and Gundobad had just spent years watching exactly how ruthless a man needs to be to hold real authority, so he started removing the competition. His brother Godemar was killed first, the details lost to time. Then he turned on his brother Chilperic. Chilperic was murdered. His wife was drowned, weighted down, and thrown into a river. His 2 young daughters were exiled. One became a nun. The other, a girl named Clotilde, grew up and married an ambitious Frankish king named Clovis. Keep her in mind too. She's about to become the most dangerous person in this entire story. By the time the killing stopped, only 2 brothers were left standing, Gundobad and Godegisel, and uneasily, coldly, they ruled Burgundy together, each one fully aware of exactly what the other was capable of. Every shared meal, every joint decision, every public appearance side by side happened under one quiet, permanent understanding. One of them had already proven he was willing to kill family to rule alone. Clotilde never forgot what happened to her parents. Her father murdered, her mother drowned, all on her uncle's orders. When she married Clovis around 493, she brought that grief with her into one of the most powerful courts in post-Roman Gaul. Meanwhile, back in Burgundy, Godegisel was getting nervous. Ruling beside a man who had already murdered 2 of his own brothers is not a comfortable position. So around the year 500, Godegisel did something desperate. He secretly reached out to Clovis and offered him an alliance against Gundobad in exchange for military help. Clovis said yes almost instantly. His wife had wanted revenge for 9 years, and here was a perfect excuse to invade a rival kingdom and settle an old family score at the same time, under the respectable banner of helping an ally. Nobody had to say Clotilde's name out loud for everyone to understand whose grievance was really being settled. Clovis marched into Burgundy. The armies met at the river Uche, and Gundobad's forces were shattered. He fled south and barricaded himself inside the walled city of Avignon. Clovis followed and laid siege, and for a moment, it looked like Gundobad's entire bloody rise to power was about to end exactly the way it began, with a cornered king waiting to be dragged out and killed. Trapped inside those walls, Gundobad sent an advisor named Aridius to negotiate. Aridius made a clever pitch. Killing Gundobad outright gains you one dead king and an unstable province, he told Clovis. Let him live, in exchange for a yearly tribute payment, and you get steady Burgundian gold for years, without the trouble of governing the place yourself. Clovis agreed. He lifted the siege, marched most of his army home, and left a garrison behind to protect Gundobad in the Burgundian capital, Vienne. On paper, this looked settled. Gundobad paid the tribute exactly once. If you think this story is winding down, it isn't. Everything up to this point was just Gundobad surviving. What happens next is Gundobad going on the offensive, and it involves a starving city, a betrayed engineer, and a murder inside a church that historians still talk about today. The moment real danger passed, he started quietly rebuilding his army. When the second payment came due, he simply refused. Then, instead of waiting to see what Clovis would do about it, he marched directly against his own brother. Gundobad, suddenly facing Gundobad's army without the bulk of Clovis's forces still around to protect him, retreated behind Vienne's walls and braced for the worst. Rather than risk a costly direct assault, Gundobad surrounded the city and waited. He let hunger do the work his soldiers couldn't. It worked faster than even he expected. As food ran out inside Vienne, Gundobad made a brutal, practical decision. He expelled the ordinary residents, the non-soldiers, to stretch what little food remained for the people he considered essential. It was desperation. It was also a catastrophic mistake. Among the people forced out that day was the man responsible for maintaining the city's aqueduct, the underground channel carrying water into Vienne. He was furious at being cast out to starve while the nobility stayed fed behind the walls. And he knew something nobody outside those walls was supposed to know. He didn't hesitate for long. Within days, he walked straight into Gundobad's siege camp and offered something extraordinary, a secret path directly into the heart of the city. Through the very aqueduct he'd spent years maintaining with his own hands, the same walls that had shut him out to starve, he now knew how to open from the inside. Gundobad picked a small team of soldiers and sent them into the tunnel under cover of darkness, carrying iron crowbars to force their way past anything blocking the route. While that team crept beneath the city, Gundobad launched a loud, visible attack against Vienne's main walls, deliberately dragging every defender's attention toward the obvious threat outside. The distraction worked perfectly. While Gundobad's soldiers focused entirely on the walls, Gundobad's men emerged from the aqueduct inside the city, reached one of the gates, and forced it open from within. The moment that gate swung open, his entire army poured through it. Fighting a war on two fronts at once, from outside and now from within, Vienne had no real chance. As the city fell, Gundobad ran to the one place he believed might still protect him: a church. An Arian church, since the Burgundians followed Arian Christianity rather than Catholic orthodoxy. Churches were supposed to be sanctuary. Remember Anthemius, hiding inside a church decades earlier, hoping the same thing would save him. It didn't save him either. Gundobad's men kicked open the doors, found Gundobad standing near the altar, and Gundobad ordered his execution right there, in front of the candles, in front of the bishop, who was killed alongside him for the simple crime of witnessing it. In the year 501, inside a house of worship that was supposed to guarantee safety, one brother's decade-long campaign of family betrayal reached its final, brutal conclusion. With Gundobad dead, Gundobad became the sole, unchallenged king of all Burgundy, a position he held for another 15 years until his own death in 516. He's remembered today, if he's remembered at all, for issuing the Lex Gundobada, a legal code blending Germanic and Roman law that governed how his subjects would be judged for generations. Though formerly Arian himself, he privately kept close ties with Catholic clergy, a practical, almost cynical move for a king ruling over a deeply mixed population. But the throne he spent 30 years murdering his own family to secure didn't outlive him by much. Clovis and the Franks, led by a queen who never once forgot what Gundobad did to her parents, eventually finished what that first invasion started. Within decades, Burgundy was swallowed whole into the Frankish kingdom. Gundobad killed his own brothers, one after another, across almost 30 years, just to sit alone on a throne that outlived every single one of them by less than 2 generations. He outschemed a dying empire, outfought his own blood, and outlived every rival who ever stood between him and the crown. And in the end, none of it mattered. The kingdom he murdered his entire family to protect barely survived him at all, swallowed up by the very dynasty his own violence had helped create.